Hello, I'm R.J. Dent, poet, novelist, translator, short story writer, essayist, researcher at the moment, and today what I'd like to talk about with regards to writing is building up a body of work and getting yourself known, get your name known. And the way to do this is that, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mention the way that I did it and explain it so that, because it's tried and tested and it does work. Now, you might be a writer of poetry, you might be a poet, you might be an aspiring novelist, or you might be a writer of short stories, and you may have already a considerable body of work produced. Maybe not published, but certainly produced. You've written lots and you want to know what to do with it, or you may be building up a collection of work now, you know. So, if you've got some short stories or some poems or some essays or a mixture of all of those, or even the first few chapters of a novel, although that's slightly different, well, no, not really, actually, thinking about it, you need to send them out into the world, and you need to know where to send them. Now, there are quite a few, not surprisingly, there's still quite a few markets for short stories. Some pay reasonably well, some don't pay very well at all, and some pay exceptionally well. Again, you need to do your market research. You need to look. The Writers and Artists Yearbook will help you find the short story markets. Looking online will certainly help you find some. If you write genre fiction, it's probably easier because there are magazines like Fangoria. I understand that the Fear magazine is being relaunched by managing editor John Gilbert. They're looking for articles, essays and short fiction. So if you write horror, science fiction or fantasy, there's a market. Writers Muse, they want short stories all the time. They're always looking for material. Plenty of poetry magazines, there's a whole range of them that you can send work to. And the idea is that you send work out and you get it into print so that people start to recognise your name. Choose your writer's name carefully, whatever it is. I chose mine, R.J. Dent, with a great deal of care. And it becomes your brand, if you like. After a while, people recognise that, oh yeah, there's another piece of work by him or her, and that's what you do. So, for example, quite a few years ago now, I could tell that I was starting to become reasonably successful because I had 70 poems and 15 short stories published in 1 year, and I thought, here we go, I'm on the cusp of something now. I can tell momentum is gaining, and sure enough, the next year my novel was published, and after that was it. People started to take what I was doing seriously. So it can be done, but you need to be consistent and persistent. You need to send work out, you need to get everything out there, and use the shotgun approach. Okay, and I'm being serious about this, you know. Send 6 poems to an editor of a poetry magazine, send a short story to one editor, but send another one to another. Post 6 in 1 day, send them out. Don't expect to hear back, but you probably will hear back from at least one of them. I sent, one day I remember I packaged up 11 envelopes, and each envelope had got 6 poems in, and they all went to different magazines from those envelopes, and that was the year that I had phenomenal success. That's when I had the 70 poems published. I used to do that every couple of weeks. I'd collect all my poems together, all my stories, a couple of essays, a couple of articles that I wrote on poetry and writing. I wrote an essay about William Blake and another one about Robert Graves and another about Roy Campbell, and they were published. I just sent them out, and in the end you just will have your work published but you've got to be persistent, and you've got to not care if you don't hear back from them. There's no point getting angry and I just sent that out and they should have responded. Sometimes editors don't, they can't be bothered, but it doesn't stop you sending something else, and then something else, and then something else. You just have to, if you want your work in print, you have to send it out there, and the more you send out, the more chance you have of getting it in print. And that's what I did. And I'm writing my 7th book now, and someone will accept it for publication. They will. I know that for a fact now. But when you're starting, you don't know that. You think, oh no, it's a huge edifice that's unassailable, and I won't be able to get in there. It's for the select few or whatever. It's not. You just write your work and send it out, and keep sending it out, and be persistent, and don't give up ever. Don't ever give up. And one of the spurs for me was the singer out of Led Zeppelin, Robert Plant, in an interview quite recently said, he was asked about, what would you have done if you hadn't been a singer, and he said, well, there was no other option, I was going to be a singer. And he said, well, of course I didn't know that I was going to be successful, or as successful as I was. He said, but I had to try it. I had to set off to be a singer because that's all I could be. And he said, and if I had died by the roadside, then so be it. That if that was going to happen, that was inevitable. But he said, but the fact is, I had to try. And if you're a writer and you're serious about your writing, you have to try. You have to write your work, send it out, and try and get it in print. And if you try hard enough, you will. Okay, so I hope that's been of some use. Sorry if I was a little bit earnest, but I am serious about this subject, and you can have your work published. Okay.